If you're a midlifer who, even when you sleep well, is still waking up exhausted, I'm going to explain why fixing your sleep isn't the answer and what actually is. This isn't another video with tips for better sleep, because I don't think this is a sleep problem. I think it's a daytime problem, and specifically what the average midlifer's life is like. We've all been taught to fix tiredness by fixing the nighttime stuff. Better sleep hygiene, no screens, no caffeine after 2 p.m. And yeah, that stuff helps, but there's something else going on, and that's what I'm going to explain over the next few minutes. The thing that actually fixed it for me, and I mean genuinely fixed it, wasn't about better sleep. It was about 3 things that I'd never seen anyone connect to this midlife exhaustion before. I'm going to give you those, but first we need to understand what's actually going on, because if you don't, you're going to carry on trying to fix the wrong thing. I'm 56, and I spent the first half of the last decade doing a 4:15 start and commuting from Scotland to London almost every week. I thought I was coping until lockdown stopped everything, and I recognised what I was feeling for what it actually was. I was tired and wired. I was functioning, but I was permanently exhausted. And I couldn't see it at the time because exhausted was just what normal felt like. The gap between I'm coping and I'm running on empty is exactly where most of my midlife clients live. So let's get into why. First thing, tiredness isn't one thing. There's physical tiredness where your body genuinely needs rest. There's mental fatigue where your brain is overloaded. And then there's a deeper kind where even if you've slept well, you just don't feel right. And that third kind is emotional exhaustion. And here's something that proves it's not just you. Mental Health UK's 2025 National Burnout Survey of almost 4,500 adults found that 91% of us experienced high or extreme stress or pressure at some point last year. 1 in 3 experienced it often or always. That's not just a few people having a bad week. That's almost all of us running on fumes, and we just call it busy or modern life. Most of us in midlife aren't physically tired anymore. We're mentally and emotionally exhausted. We sit more, move less, and our brains are fed a constant stream of information, so there's no opportunity for them to switch off. The demands from work or our partner or kids or parents are pretty constant. There is no downtime. You can't fix brain fried with an earlier bedtime. This is the distinction that changed how I think about this. It's something called sleep debt that's the problem and sleep pressure that's the fix. So the question is, how do you actually build that? Because the standard advice to exercise more and stress less isn't that helpful when you're already exhausted. I'm going to give you 3 things that actually work. But first, you need to understand what's been draining you for years. Think of the quality of your sleep as like a bank account. If you keep making withdrawals, you're going to become seriously overdrawn, and that's sleep debt. But if you accumulate a decent amount of cash, you can make a deposit. That's sleep pressure. Sleep debt is the bad kind of tired. It's you getting overdrawn. It's the difference between what your body needs and what it's actually getting. If you run that for years, like I did, it doesn't just make you tired, it changes what your brain can actually do while you're awake. Worse recovery, worse mood, foggier thinking. Sleep pressure is the good kind of tired. It's you making a deposit in the sleep bank. It's the natural drive to sleep that builds throughout the day when we do the right things. This is the one almost no one consciously thinks about during the day. The easiest way to build healthy sleep pressure isn't a supplement or an app, it's movement and clearing your head. Movement or exercise burns off the stress hormones that are keeping you wired, and it gives your body a reason to want deep recovery. This is the bit that's missing for most people in midlife. Your day doesn't give your body a reason to switch off, so it doesn't. We've been sold sleep hygiene as the fix. Dark rooms, no screen, cut the caffeine. Fine as far as it goes, but a dark room at 10 p.m. isn't going to undo the cortisol flood you've experienced from 16 hours of constant pressure. It's a bit like You know when you have 47 tabs open in your browser and it just freezes? That's your nervous system at midnight. And no amount of blackout blinds and white noise apps is going to reboot it. So here's where we are. You know the exhaustion isn't physical, and you know sleep hygiene isn't the fix. So what is? I want to tell you why I take this so seriously. I've watched the long game of chronic exhaustion play out up close with both my parents. Decades of stress, poor recovery, no real switch off, and the serious cognitive decline that followed for both of them. I'm not saying poor sleep was the only cause, but I've watched what happens when you never address it. And I don't want that to be my story, and I don't want it to be yours either. This isn't just about feeling less exhausted now, it's about getting the deep restorative recovery that we need to reduce our risk in future. So here are the 3 things that actually move the needle for me. Number 1, build sleep pressure. And you do that with some movement during the day and ideally getting some fresh air. It's not just about burning calories. This is the foundation, and without it, the other 2 don't stick. This doesn't mean having to hit the gym or do HIIT sessions. It's about giving your body a reason to want recovery. 20 to 30 minutes a day is enough. A walk at some point will do it. Physical activity lets your subconscious work on some of the things that are stressing you out and helps you resolve them. Number 2 is build a real off switch. Don't stop at the first one. You might do some physical exercise and feel better, but you never really get to why you're so wired in the first place. The off switch is the bridge. Most of us think we're resting when we're slumped on the couch in front of a screen. We're not. Your nervous system needs a signal at the end of the day that says, we're done now. That can be as simple as an evening walk with no headphones, eyes on the horizon, not on a screen, or watching the sun go down. The wider your field of vision, the more your nervous system relaxes because it can see there are no threats present. And if you pair it with some warm light instead of screens, you're giving your brain the modern equivalent of arriving back at the fire outside the cave at the end of the day. And number 3 is find one thing that's creating some of your background stress and reduce it. This is the thing that changed everything for me. You don't need a crisis going on to feel stressed. Constant low-level pressure is enough. Work bleeding into evenings, the news cycle, social comparison. You can't remove it all, but you can find one drain and reduce it. Writing one of those things down at the end of your workday or before you go to bed and making a note of one thing you're going to do tomorrow to deal with it is the equivalent of closing one of those tabs in the browser that's in your head. It's one less thing to keep you up. None of these things is about doing more. It's about designing your day so that rest isn't something you have to fight for at 11 p.m. So if you're tired all the time, I don't think the right question is, how do I fix my sleep? I think it's, what in my life is draining me and what needs to change? Life isn't going to slow down for any of us. In fact, this is probably the slowest our world is going to turn from this point on. So this isn't about chasing more productivity. You can never be all caught up. This is about being more intentional about what will give you your energy back and designing your day around that. I figured this out the hard way, watching my parents decline while I was running on empty myself, not even realizing how exhausted I was. If you don't want that to be your story, hit subscribe. I put out a new video every week about some aspect of redesigning your midlife instead of just surviving it. If this landed with you, tell me in the comments which of those 3 actions you're going to do first. I read every one. Thanks for watching.